hit a record button in a few seconds and I'll be able to see levels. So it's not necessarily about that. And we're on. Thanks, Harry. You're listening to 103.5 FM WNHH, NewHavenIndependent.org, and this is the show. My name is Michelle Turner, and I have the pleasure of being its host. We're almost 4 years in with the show. This is a podcast that's dedicated to anything and everything that I am interested in. So there's no necessarily ventor other than me. I am the ventor. I vent everything. So it's up to me as to whether I have a guest or not, or have Harry play shows back. So have to send a shout out to Harry as usual, because he always makes me look and sound good. In the studio with me is somebody that I have known all of my career. Probably because I really started in North Carolina. I really started my on-air career while I was in college. I worked for a commercial station. But when I returned to WNHC, there were two stations in town, and we had a friendly rivalry at that time. It was WYBC and WNHC. And so on WNHC, I was midnight to 6. That was my job. I was Shelley, the overnight party for the overnight army. I was midnight to 6. Dave Winter, and now as he's known, Doc Winter, was the morning person. I think from 6 to 10, right, Steve?
Yeah, I believe it was
It's like 6 to 10.
Yep, 5:30, 6. I think it was 6 to 10.
Yeah. And then it was Connie Marshall. Bobby Owens did evenings. I mean, the afternoon drive.
Right. By the time that I got there, I think Connie Marshall was gone, because I think Dave Dickinson was middays, our mornings. Like, yeah, he came on after
Dave Dickinson was evenings, because he came on before me.
Okay, actually.
And then he moved. You're right, because he might have moved because there was somebody who came after Dave.
Right. I remember he was the music director by the time I got there.
Right.
Where Hector was the program director.
Right.
And I'm trying to remember the weekend staff.
The weekend staff was Lenny Green.
Right.
Bentley Clark.
Right. Doc Martin.
And one more person.
There was a girl who moved. There were a couple more people, I think.
Well, Carol Dockett was on for a hot second.
Right, that was before I got there.
Yeah, because she went back to YBC.
Right.
But Tracina Gray.
Yep. I can't remember her name, but something like that. And
yep.
Was there a Tony? Maybe Tony Williams.
Tony McLean came later.
Okay, I remember.
He was later. But there was someone when I was gone that came in when you all were there, and I can't remember his name. But so, as it turns out, I met this gentleman because he was an intern to Dave Winter in the mornings. So as I was transitioning out, they would be setting up for the next day's show. So needless to say, Doc Steve and I formed a really great bond. And I've known Stephen ever since.
Yeah, been one of my closest friends.
Stephen Richardson, you might know the name from the Connecticut record pool.
Connecticut Music Pool, right? And also Hill Promotional Group, which was the name before then.
Before then. And you did that, what, how many years?
Hill Promotional Group from 86 to 93, I believe. And then Connecticut Music Pool from 93, technically till 2005, even though I still use the name and I still have all the contacts and we still do a lot of other business besides, like, the record pools are not the same these days, but I do other industry related stuff, through the company. So,
and Steve and my friend Doc Percival.
Yep, the great Doc P.
The great Doc P were a team and still are in a lot of ways. They recorded together. They've done parties. They've done mixes.
We were roommates in college.
They were roommates in college. And I met Doc through Steve. So we have had some adventures.
Yes, we have.
We've had some adventures. I was a fledgling overnight disc jockey when we met. And I've gone on to do other things. Steve and Doc have gone on to do other things. But like you said, it doesn't matter how long it's been. It's just like we were riding in the car down to Brooklyn.
Yep. And it's funny because you were supposed to be managing us, and it's like, I think out there on those road trips, I think we all needed some management. So.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I tried to prevent you all from signing some really bad contracts.
Yeah, you did do that. I'll give you that.
I tried, and y'all went ahead and did it anyway.
It's a shame we didn't listen to you then.
Yeah. But hey.
Yeah, you did. And we went through, like I said, we bought our way out of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, you guys spent a lot of money, but I tried. So
we had to learn everything the hard way, as you know, because you were there with us.
So Stephen Richardson and Doc Percival have been in the area mixing, doing clubs, being involved in the hip hop community all over Connecticut since the 80s, correct?
Yep.
Since the 80s. And they're veterans of these wars. And now they're venturing off into other things. But before we go to that, tell me how you became involved in the music industry, and then how you became involved in hip hop, or was that simultaneous?
I guess it was sort of simultaneous. When I was in high school, I went to Amity. I grew up in Bethany. I had a few friends, Clark Chappell and Clarence Phillips, and another friend, Dennis Pender, who everyone knew, Ray Pender, the music blender.
Right.
He was the only DJ I knew at the time, and he was young, but he was involved. He was on YBC at the time. I think then Jazzy hired him at NHC, and he was there for a while. So I would say he was probably my first exposure. And then when like the first rap records came out, that had me really excited, and I was buying records all the time. Mm-hmm. I lived in Bethany, so there was no bus line or anything. I couldn't get anywhere until I had a driver's license. So once I had a license, my mother was working at Yale at the hospital, and I would have to pick her up after school a lot of time because parking was terrible. So
right.
On my way, I wouldn't eat lunch. I would save my lunch money, and on my way, I'd stop on Broadway and go to Cutler's, and that's where I met Vera Clark, who used to look out for me. She taught me how to record shop and how to work the bins and crates and everything, and gave me like my first early knowledge of like 12 inches in music and the DJing game.
Yeah.
And I think at that point she was either on YBC or maybe 88.7, because 88.7 was
probably
happening.
88.7.
Right.
Yeah.
And after a while, like, each person owned a piece of equipment, so we couldn't get together to actually practice, because it's like one person had one turntable, somebody else had the mixer, I had most of the records. I had some of the equipment as well, and nobody else was as serious, so I ultimately invested in, getting all my own equipment. So as everybody else sort of fell out of it, I continued on. In '83, I went to the University of Hartford. That's where I met Doc. He was a rapper. He had a big crew of like 50 plus MCs and DJs in Greenburgh, New York, like in White Plains. So, I basically became a part of that. We started doing a lot of events down there. And then I joined the record pool, and that's sort of the rest was history. It was like when I joined the pool, it was basically a top 40 pool. I don't know if everybody's familiar with the record pool, but basically...
No, explain how that works.
The record pool, you pay a monthly membership. It's a collection of, or a pooling of DJs and resources. There's one person who's the pool director, who's the middleman between the DJs in the market and the record labels and the bigger industry, in general. Mm-hmm. So that person was collecting a lot of dance and top 40. Most of the club DJs that were getting music, you had to be somebody who was influential to be in the pool. It wasn't just open to any DJ. You had to be able to break music. You had to be fairly important. So, like I said, they were basically a dance pool, and there weren't really any hip-hop pools in Connecticut. I was really into hip-hop. We were at the University of Hartford, so we were able to play a lot of dance and other stuff as well. But I still needed the hip-hop that was coming out, so I had spoken to the director. They weren't really that interested in becoming a hip-hop pool, so they basically let me start my own little section and let me be, they gave me a lot of phone numbers, took me around to industry parties, introduced me to a lot of people, and basically I ran like the hip-hop section of that pool. And a couple of years later, the pool director, George Hess, became the head of promotions at Arista Records. So when he left, his wife ultimately took over the pool, and then like a year or two later, they got divorced, and she moved to Utah, and basically,
Wow.
yeah. And then I took over the pool, ran it for a few years as Hill Promotional Group, which was their company, and then ultimately changed everything over and took over as my company and ran it as Connecticut's Music Pool. And then since then, Doc and I have had SM Entertainment and SMEnlightenment and a whole bunch of other SM related things. So
Yeah.
the
Now,
original SM crew, myself, the
Right.
Grand was just DVD, and the great Doc B. So
right. So, how did SM come together? And what did the initials stand for? I know, but
well, I can't tell you what the initials stand for because it's nothing bad, but it's there's gonna be like that's the biggest
is that a
question I get.
copyright?
Yes. And it's
Okay.
going to be a contest one day, because like anyone there are certain hints online. If you go back and you dig far enough, like on our Facebook pages or anything else, and especially old flyers from back in the day, it's right there, but you have to do some digging. So
You got to look for it.
after
yeah.
we finish all these other things, and once they get where they're going, that's going to be a trivia question where there might be some money tied to the answer.
Ooh.
So I can't tell you that today. But you already know it, so
I already know it.
you're not eligible.
So I'm not eligible anyway for a lot of different
or
reasons.
anyone else who works in radio or anything affiliated. So,
But now, you all have been together in so many different entities.
mhm.
Is that because hip hop changes that often? Or you all decided that you needed to go in a different direction?
Well, it's probably a combination of both, but I think one of our biggest probably blessings, but also biggest downfalls has been that we've discovered that we're fairly good at a whole lot of things, and we sort of fell into doing too many things as opposed to focusing
Staying
on one.
on one?
Originally, when I first started, all I wanted to do was DJ. There were no videos out yet.
Right.
There wasn't a career as DJing as far as traveling and like it is now, and DJs making records. It was really the party DJ. It was the beginning of the
Right.
hip hop scene.
Right.
Doc was growing up going to all the battles and everything in New York because he was in Westchester. He was, right across
Right.
the line. So he was going to see Melly Mel and everybody back in the day as all that was happening. So Doc was coming from the perspective of being a rapper. So when we got together, we started, we did a lot of events and a lot of parties, but we started focusing more on putting out records. We were opening for artists. We opened for M2 at the University of Hartford and a bunch of other artists and stuff. So we started focusing more on being artists, but we were still doing a lot of parties, and there wasn't really yet a big following. Like there was like Roxanne Shante and MC Shan and all them. We opened for them in Waterbury, but there still weren't a lot of labels. We put together a demo. We went, from label to label, shopping them. Had a whole lot of doors closed in our face. Got dissed at Cold Chillin'. Went to Def Jam, and I forgot what Def Jam had told us, but I know that we walked away feeling pretty insulted. So I mean, we've always kept trying that, but we've always ended up in situations where we don't automatically fall into the norm. We didn't get signed, so we worked on pressing our own records. A lot of clubs wouldn't hire us, so we did our own promotions and
did your own parties.
right. Everything that we've had to do, we've pretty much gone separate and done it our own way. When we were doing the radio, no one was trying to touch us in the radio station. We sort of took over and ran the radio station and got the high ratings.
Yeah.
and brought about big change to the area. So,
Well, if there's anything you learned about the music industry, and technically I know the answers to all these questions,
yeah, I know.
but
you
I
do.
want you I want you to talk about your experience in trying to knock on those doors. What made it easy? Because obviously you got there, you sat in front of the right people, but what made it difficult? Was it your style? Was it that you didn't agree with what the record company wanted to do? And what would you say? What type of advice would you give to someone who is still trying to knock on those doors?
I'd say try to find something else to do, but I really don't want to say that, but it is a rough road. it's something that has to be something that's in you that you don't really have any control. There's so many times that I've wanted to get out, and there's plenty of times that I took a 3-year hiatus before we started this project. But I just keep getting pulled back in, and it seems like the universe keeps trying to push me back in because I've done this for so many years that obviously all of my connections and contacts, everything directs me in that area.
Yeah.
So that's probably part of it, but it just seems like every time I turn around and try to do something else, opportunities come up that I can't walk away from or I can't resist, and it's like, all right, I'm back here in the music industry again. But I mean, I think the thing I've learned, and it's probably more about human nature. I don't want to say people are shiesty, but people in the music industry are very shiesty, and you can't have a thin skin. But on the other side of the coin, I have to say there's some pretty awesome people in the industry. I mean, the only reason I'm here is because I've had some really good friendships, and they've survived, decades. I mean, I think the most important thing I've learned is the importance of networking and building and maintaining those relationships.
Yeah.
And most of mine, I mean, especially a lot of the ones that we have in common, like Dave Dickinson, who was helping me with this project. Even though we speak on Facebook, I haven't seen Dave. Well, I saw him in DC about a couple of months ago, but before that, we hadn't really seen each other in like 30 years since we were at
WNHC.
But we always had a great relationship, and when I speak to him, like when I told him I was going to be coming to the area, he was like, call me as soon as you're here. And when I was down there, he brought me in, gave me a tour of Sirius XM. They just bought Pandora at the time. He introduced me to everybody. Told me if I had any questions anytime, call him anytime, and he's been there to help. He's sort of consulting for me a little bit with this project.
That's great.
And
that's
it's like
great.
People like him, yourself, that have been in my corner forever. It's like, even if we fall out of touch, I could call you at any time, and I can vent, I can ask for advice, whatever. You're always there. You already know everything about my past, so and there's no credibility issues because you were there, so
Right.
So
right.
I think one of the more difficult things for me personally in this game, which has probably been a problem or presented a problem, is I grew up in the suburbs. I'm articulate, I'm educated, so I get a lot of resistance when I go places. Oh, you're not black, you don't sound black. So when it comes to the hip hop side of things, that was even more. I don't get as much now, especially since I'm pretty established and I have obviously a lot of contacts.
Right.
Most people in this market really don't have a clue how deep it really goes. But but they've seen me around enough for enough years now that I don't get the same too much
pushback that you got before.
Right.
Yeah.
But that has always been a problem coming up when we were doing a lot of the big club things and a lot of things at the other radio station. One of the big issues we used to get from local DJs. Doc and Stevie aren't from New Haven. Why are they here? Why is this opportunity being offered to them? So that was I got a lot of that held me out, pushed me out. And then as we did a lot of things that sort of led everybody else, and we were trying to, with the pool, we did a lot of pool meetings and panel discussions, and we tried to educate and unite, the DJs across the state, as well as other people in the market, retailers, radio, basically everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
But what I noticed was, because I wasn't from the area, like I said, I grew up in Bethany, and I spent most of my life in New Haven. I was always in the area, but because they viewed me as a white boy, and I wasn't from the area, they couldn't really be led by me. Like, the egos were a big problem.
They wouldn't allow it.
So a lot of the things that are,
or so-called, wouldn't allow it.
Right, and I saw a lot of things that were happening in the market that brought us to where we are now. The record labels will tip me off as to what was going on, the changes, where temperature, everything. So I tried to make the DJs aware. Some guys got it, other guys didn't. Like I said, the egos were a problem. So now the market is what it is. Everyone's scrambling to save themselves now. I'm trying to do some other things, obviously, to save myself, but to save everybody as well. And that's been one of my biggest downfalls. I've always tried to be inclusive, and that's been great for some people, but I bring a lot of people who are basically haters or in my campaign, and they're not really helping me to move forward. So this project's going to be a little bit different. So.
But now, let me ask you, because when you say, this whole Connecticut piece, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, where Diddy made the statement, kind of downplaying some DJ, and it was like, oh, you sound like you on some Connecticut stuff, and I was insulted.
And you should be.
Because there were a lot of people who came out of Connecticut who had a very big influence on the industry.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean,
very, very early on.
very early on. I mean, Jazzy was instrumental in putting together Self-Destruction.
Yeah.
EPMD, even though they were from New York, they went to Southern.
Right. They were influenced by here.
And they were influenced by a lot of different things here, which developed Steezo. Right.
And also, back in the day, Tony Pearson, who had Pookie Blow, Tony Pearson, Mr. Magic.
Right.
And he had the studio, and he had, I forgot what the Third Unheard, I believe, which was all the Connecticut
Jungle
DJs.
Boys.
Right. And like
Skinny Boys.
The original Cutmaster Joey D and Reggie Reg.
And Cut Creator.
Yep.
LL Cool J used to hang out in the Chapel Square Mall.
Exactly.
So, there was always this. And then you guys bought Milk, MC Light.
Audio 2. Yep, Audio 2.
Audio 2 here. Yep. And they were here a couple of times.
Yep, and we became good friends, so we used to bring them up all the time. We used to travel through the market and have them do autographs and signings at record stores and video shows and stuff. Back then, being the pool director, I was the main contact for whenever they were bringing artists through the market. So if you needed to go to a store or to a radio station, whatever you needed, I was the person you contacted, and then I set it up and brought you through. So we would start like at one end of the state, and we would hit stores, they'd do signings, and we'd start like in Norwalk, and then end up in Springfield by the end of the day, and then try to find somewhere to go and then send them back. So they were here for, that was at Brickenwood where we did that, and we had Pretty Ricky, was a different Pretty Ricky, the rapper, before the R&B group.
Before the R&B group, right.
Back when Select Records was happening.
Right. Mm-hmm. And there was somebody else who was hip-hop that came to Brickenwood.
Well, I mean, Heavy D was there.
Right.
I know there was some issues. I don't know if he actually performed. I think there was, because that was right after, that was maybe a few weeks after that stabbing, I think, or whatever had happened at the New Haven Coliseum.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you had to have a performance permit to have an artist in the clubs like that. Whereas before, I don't know if you had to, but we just did it.
Yeah, so, you just bought them in.
Like in like our very first show, well, actually it wasn't our first because we did those before then, but Doc and I had done the Jungle Brothers in Fairfield, but of course we had like a major ice storm that day. But we hired, that was back when 88.7 was happening, so we had hired Tootski and Money Moses.
Yeah,
and, and they were the DJs for the
TC
event.
Islam.
Oh yeah, yep, TC Islam became the head of the Zulu Nation for a number of years.
Right.
He made a lot of noise that people didn't really know, like on behind the scenes. So
yeah, so there's a lot.
Rest in peace, TC Islam.
Yeah, there's a lot that we contributed.
Oh yeah, and people they don't really appreciate the value and the contributions of this market.
Yeah.
And the good thing is we had a very credible market very early in the game.
Yeah.
Which people don't realize. If you could be here in the park, Cedar Street with Reggie and Joey and them, or you could be at a park in the Bronx, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference because it was that credible.
Yeah.
It's sort of lost this direction, and we've never gotten the credit we've deserved, which is what the Hip Hop Boulevard movement is about. We're trying to bring that awareness now.
Talk a little bit about that, because that's an upcoming event, right? And that's in the Bronx.
Right. So the Hip Hop Boulevard movement, I don't know who actually started it, but I know that the two partners who did start it originally, they didn't have any real success, so they had approached Al Pizarro, who used to be a record pool director and does a lot of promotions in the Bronx. He used to run VIP Record Pool when I was running Connecticut Music Pool. So Al basically showed me the ropes. He pretty much put me in a good position of power, and helped to build me up over the decade. Mm-hmm. So we've been really tight forever. So like I said, he's a partner in this now. Once he started, things started moving for him. So basically, they got the Sedgwick Avenue renamed or co-named to Hip Hop Boulevard. That's where it started. That was a few years ago. And now they're trying to bring more awareness to the Bronx. The problem with the Bronx is hip hop, at least the branding of hip hop, started in the Bronx, but the Bronx has never benefited from it. They've sort of never really taken credit, and they've never done anything to benefit. So now they're trying to shine a spotlight on it. So we're having an event on the 10th, which will be the first annual event. It's going to be at the Home of Hip Hop. I believe, I forgot the name of the park. There's two parks involved, so I'm not sure. There's a Soundview Park, and I believe the Cedar Park. and we have a major concert from like 1 to 5. We have an awards ceremony, which is invitation only in the morning. And all the pioneers from different areas are going to be involved. I got Grand Wizard Rasheen coming through. Yep, Melly Mel, Grandmaster Cass, Curtis Blow. Grand Wizard Rasheen is coming through. He's basically the creator of the Philadelphia hip hop scene.
Yeah, because I was going to say, there's always people if they don't know hip hop, then they don't know that there was a genuine rivalry, or that hip hop really rose up in the Bronx and in Philly at the same time.
Exactly.
And so when
it's like once you got to the DJs and the battling and the tricks, it was like the focus moved from the Bronx to Brooklyn and Philly.
Right.
And it was like the battles between the Brooklyn DJs and the Philly DJs for a while, those were the best DJs out there.
Were incredible. DJ Jazzy Jeff still does not get his due.
Right,
he is one of the best of the best.
And Grand Wizard Rasheen is the DJ who taught Jazzy Jeff. He also taught Cash Money, and he taught DJ Miz, who's another really well-respected DJ, who battle DJ from out there.
Yeah.
I saw him go up against I forgot what the DJ's name was. It was Ice-T's DJ back in like '89 at the Battle for World Supremacy.
Yeah.
And it's like the Philadelphia DJs, because they would always win those battles, basically New Music Seminar basically banned them from being able to compete in those battles. If you were a Philadelphia DJ, you couldn't be in those battles after a certain year.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So we have those guys are there, and there's people from all different markets. Our guys are being represented. We were trying to get Joey D and Reggie Reg, and Grandmaster J and White Flash and a lot of other guys recognized. There was a sponsorship issue, and each market had to get sponsors. So, our market sort of fell short on that part of it. But hopefully for next year, we'll have...
Why is that?
I don't know. What I've discovered in going around is people, while they like to party to the old school hip hop, it's like this market doesn't seem to support it the same way, and especially its local artists. I mean, the Skinny Boys should be represented,
right?
But it's like, as I'm approaching people trying to get sponsorships for their awards and everything, people are like, I don't know, they got to think about it, whatever. But there's nobody that's jumping up and saying, wow, this is a historic event, and this is something that our market deserves. Our guys played a big role in this as well, and they need to be recognized.
Yeah, that's interesting because
I'm running around trying to find people to drum up that support and find people that are excited and passionate about that.
Can people get in touch with you to donate, or can they go to a website? How can they find out more about the event itself?
They can go to on Facebook. They can go to there's a group. I believe it's Hip Hop Boulevard. I believe that's the name of the group.
I saw it. It's part of an event. Like if you go into your events.
There's also an event page. I believe the event page is the 46th anniversary of hip hop awards and showcase, something like that. And then there's also a website, hiphopboulevard.net. So they can reach the person you want to speak to. There would be Al Pizarro. He's the one who's in charge of running everything. And then you can also reach me, obviously, through SMEnlightenment Radio, and that's where I'm taking care of the Connecticut market. So you can either reach me directly or you can reach Al.
You're listening to the show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We're streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook Live. Just go to facebook.com/New Haven Independent or go to your own Facebook page and look us up. This is the show. My name is Michelle Turner, and blah, 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 if I can get it out. And I'm the host. My guest today is Steve Richardson, who has been involved in the Connecticut hip-hop scene just about from its very beginning. And he and Doc P are regulars in the club scene, the hip-hop scene, and now you're trying to bring something together that's very different from you all. You've been trying to do the radio piece, the streaming radio piece, for a couple of years.
Right.
But now it seems like it's really coming together. What are you trying to do?
Well, originally we were looking to do radio. There was the issue of the royalties and everything, but things have changed now, so you can pay for licensing online. So that opened the door for us to go in and develop an online radio station. Mm-hmm. It's called SM Enlightenment Radio. You can listen to it at SMEnlightenmentmedia.com. right now we're doing a lot of music. We're doing basically we're feel good music, so we're trying to be upbeat, uplifting. We play R&B, hip hop, a lot of old school, some 80s, a lot of 90s, some 2000s, some current hip hop, but we're not playing the same hip hop you're hearing anywhere else. We're picking out, independent artists and unsigned artists, things that you've never heard. We're very message oriented, so you're not hearing any of the songs that promote the genocide of our community or any community. You're hearing positive, uplifting songs. You're hearing songs with we can't always get every message as perfect as possible, but you're hearing very few negative messages. The negativity is very limited, and it's really, if it makes a certain point.
So if I tune to it, what am I going to hear? Like, who are some of the artists? You're
going to hear, a lot of the same great artists that you hear, a lot of other places. Then you're going to hear some new artists that you haven't heard. I couldn't really name because I'm still loading music. I'm adding, but I mean, you're gonna hear you're gonna hear some good R&B. You're gonna hear good up tempo R&B. It's gonna be all feel good music. So you're gonna hear a lot of songs that you've already heard, but it's gonna be a different mixture, a different flow of it, and it's set to set a mood and and a tone. And like I said, when you're hearing the hip hop, you're gonna definitely hear a lot of old school hip hop because we're tied in very closely with the legends and pioneers. A lot of them are going to probably be coming onto the station and be hosting shows. But the music is not going to be my focus. The music right now is there, and it's a great program to listen to. It's you can drive to it, and it'll change your mood. It picks you up. But my focus is going to be a lot of more talk stuff. We're going to be doing a lot of wellness and more community-oriented programming. Even though our target, we're not a local-oriented station.
Right.
Our licensing is for the U.S., the UK, and Canada. So obviously, a lot of the same concerns that happen in different cities in the U.S. happen, in all those areas.
Yeah.
So we're looking at those. We're looking at basically presenting ways to have a better lifestyle and to feel better, just positive living and how to accomplish your dreams. So we're trying to have programming that puts you in that direction and it puts you in that mindset. Our whole thing is positive is the attitude, as it's always been, and we've continued along that. So like right now we're looking for storytellers, we're looking for talk show hosts, news, gossip shows. We have DJs, we do mix shows as well. I am open to mix shows, but like I said, we're not going to be focused so much on the music. We're looking to host other podcasts. Anything that's positive where you can, come and get positive information and that can change the community and provide an alternative to what's out there now commercially. What's out there now to me is like the death of our community. They dress it up nicely, but it's like the genocide of the communities that are really into it. So we're trying to provide an alternative that provides the opposite and uplifts rather than breaks
And are we
down.
going to hear your mixes?
Oh, my mixes are on. I haven't had as much time to focus on them as I've wanted to, but I am on Saturdays at 5 p.m. Our mix shows start 5 p.m. on Saturdays. They run till midnight. So I come on at 5. At 6 is DJ Bounce Mass DJ Born You. Never get his name right, even though I've known him forever now. After him is the DJ Tootski's world famous radio show featuring DJ E. And that takes you till 8 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock, my two stars come on. From 8 to 10 is DJ Handles. He's new to the area, but he is going to be a star. He's my shining star. And then after him is DJ Coca Motion, and she's been in the area for a while. I remember when she first started DJing, and I haven't heard her in years. And she was playing R&B and hip hop then. Now she's doing soulful house, and she surprised me. She's off the hook. So she's on from 10 to midnight. So,
because, we have a lot of people in the area who love house music.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't get to hear it. They literally are really listening to it through streaming services.
Right.
So there's not a focus for house music. So that may be something you want to explore as well.
And she does a lot of events, especially like in the Hartford area. She's involved with, so one of the things that we are doing while we're not focusing on being a local station, we are still local, so we are doing actual physical events. I don't know how many online stations are really doing remotes like other stations, but we're actually going places. We have a street presence. And we're going to be doing events. We got some club events that we're setting up. So there'll be time, you'll be able to come out and hear her live as well and dance to her. And then we also have a presence in the ATL area in Atlanta. We have SMEnlightenment ATL. DJ Biggs, who used to be a DJ up here in the New Haven area, he's down there now, and he's really tied into the industry. So we have a handful of people. He built the street team for us, and we have a number of people on the ground down there. So we're at a lot of events, and we're starting to do things in Atlanta.
Nice.
And we have a nice listenership down there too now. So we're really starting to focus on that area as well. That's our second home right now. Wow,
that's great.
Yeah, things are really moving along. It came along when we started. We started last August. We had a whole bunch of problems until like January. We started mix shows in February. Once we started the mix shows, things picked up pretty quickly. I had reached out to my friend Al Pizarro, and I knew he would help me whenever I was ready. So I reached out to him, and I'm like, Al, I'm ready to start promoting the station. I'm ready to, to make a little bit more noise.
Yeah.
What I didn't expect was, like, I thought when I called him, we would talk and we'd have, a couple of months before we did something. So he's like, okay, call me tomorrow. So I called him tomorrow, and it's like, okay, we could do this, this, and this. Come down. I went to, that was a Monday. I went down Tuesday. We sat and had dinner, and then started doing dinner every Tuesday. And it was like, okay, here's what we can do. The deadline to get the papers in and the money and deposit and everything is Thursday. So it's like everything started then, and now we were scrambling to do. We did the 116th Street Festival in New York, which is like the largest Latin festival on the East Coast. So now I had 100,000 people that I'm in front of with the station, and it's like, the station's not really built yet. I'm just tweaking it and starting, I'm like, I'm not ready for all these people to be hearing it, but it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, so you took advantage.
Right, I couldn't pass it up. And then
Did that give you any results?
Oh, it gave me tremendous results. I was hoping to be able to build some more staff, because I'm looking for interns and help. Right now, Doc and I do it ourselves for the most part, and this is like 3 full-time jobs. I'm wearing every hat for every department for the radio station. I don't go to sleep, so.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when it's your baby, right?
Oh, yeah. And everything that we've done has been our baby. Like I said, somehow we always end up having to go off on our own and do it our own way and create our own thing. So it's always been like this. But this is the thing I think I'm the most passionate about. The other stuff was always great, the live performances and everything. But we've been able to include more people in this. And it's been such a thrill. It's been such a crazy ride ever since. It's like up until January, everything was really just slow and miserable. And then my father passed in January. And then it was like right after that, everything picked up and has been just an incredible ride ever since. And now we're just trying to keep up with it. Trying to get you on the air.
Steve. There is a certain amount of fun that I've always had with you all. And there's always been a certain type of magic that we have. So we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, I gotta, Doc is in Rhode Island now, so we have to jump in the car and take a ride up there, and that'll be another fun road trip for us.
Oh my gosh, we do not need it. Well, maybe we do. We need another road trip. That was what?
That was in the 80s.
That was in the 80s.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're due. We're due for another road trip.
Yeah, and I don't think
it's the same amount of time.
Yeah. And I don't think any of us have really matured really that much since then. So I think it'll
I
still...
have, Stephen.
Yeah, okay.
I'm somebody's mother.
Yeah, okay. So you can say that while we're on the air then.
I've matured. I have. Well, part of me has. I'll say 80% of me has. There's a 20% part that you know.
Well, yeah, it's because you haven't been around us enough. We tend to bring that side out of people, and I don't know if it's a good thing. Somehow we're like the bad influence, even though I think we're good guys.
You are good guys.
But we bring the bad side out of everybody.
But I do want to get back in the DJing game though.
Well, I want you to get back in.
I want to be a part of that. I want to be the one
to bring you back in.
I want to be a part of that, because one of the things that clicked with me was we went to see Mary J. Blige probably 2 summers ago at Mohegan. And they have an area where the DJ plays, and it's a club, and it's like 1,000 people. And that was something I always wanted to do. There were 2 things that I always wanted to do, right? I wanted to be a roadie, Nobody would let me be a roadie, right? Well, 3. Nobody would let me be a roadie.
Dice couldn't help you out?
He did, but he didn't. Because the whole thing was, I needed some men around me, or else nobody would take me seriously, or I could have faced bodily harm. Because we went to Chung King a long time ago, and I was like, yeah, I want to be a producer. And everybody was like, first of all, you're too pretty to be a producer, because it was like all these guys, and they were like, nobody's going to take you seriously.
I think it's something about you.
I don't think so.
I think so because you just made me think of the experience we had when we were trying to go to the WBLS party. We didn't get in, but we had quite the adventure that night.
That had nothing to do with me.
I think it was all you.
I had 2 ways in, but
the sawed-off shotgun in the pizza place.
No, we won't go there. We won't go into that story, Steven. We won't go into that story at all. Man. But I wanted to be a producer. I wanted to be a roadie. I wanted to be a producer. And then I really, truly wanted to go around the planet and DJ for parties. And everywhere I went, doors were being shut. But I still had this radio piece that I could use.
Right.
And so it looked like radio was what was going to feed me, clothe me, and sustain me. So that was the way I went. So now coming full circle, I've met, and he's been very nice to me, Tim Cabral, who runs Ordinary. And so I was talking about, my DJ days when I worked at the Taurus, right? When I used to open for Hollywood, I used to do a happy hour. Remember? And he was like, so, you DJ? And I'm like, it's been a long time. He said, come on, come up here. So one night they got me up there. I had not a clue what I was doing. So I stayed up there like 20 minutes and I was like, I got to get out of here. But he still wants me to do it again. So I need to be prepped for it. So I'm ready.
Well, let me know whenever you're ready.
I'll let you know.
If you need something to come practice on, the equipment is always set up too.
Yeah,
so.
and things are way different than my techniques.
I still have my technique. I have my 1200 still set up.
Yeah,
and that's what I still use. I still prefer to play out on those. But these days everyone's using the controllers, and the controllers do so much more. So everybody's expecting so much more. So So you sort of have to stay with the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still prefer the turntables. I still prefer vinyl. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, there's that. Vinyl is pure unless you're not bound to the floor, which I'm going to tell this story and then we're going to have to go. We went to see Public Enemy. This has been a while ago. And his DJ was like up on a small stage. Right. And then he had everything laid out on the table. Well, of course, when people got excited and they started jumping up, stuff started skipping.
Exactly.
And you forget about that.
Oh yeah, and even these days with the Serato, with the with the encoded vinyl, I discovered that because I was at a club a few years ago where I was having that problem. I was in a DJ booth that was raised, and people could walk up and stand on the platform against it, and there was like a basement below it. So when you walked up there, if you stepped hard enough, it made everything bounce in the DJ booth. So what normally in the past without encoded vinyl and without the technology, the needle would have just skipped. Right. But now what happened is the needle bounced up, and when it landed, all of a sudden the computer wasn't reading the vinyl right. So now the song is playing at half speed. And now you got to figure out, how do I reset it and get it back? But that's what's playing for everybody listening. And now you're just sort of stuck. And the first time it happens, you have no clue how to resolve it, because these are all computer issues that you've never seen until they happen. And no one said, this could happen to you while you're DJing.
Right.
Just
so
like you get to a club and you play, and then the music stops and your hard drive dies, and that's when you discover, I should have a backup hard drive with me, or a backup laptop, because I can't get through the rest of the night now.
And I've been paid for this.
Well, or I'm being paid, hopefully.
Yeah,
after that happens, you pretty much know, not getting paid tonight.
Yeah. So if you are someone who is interested, they are looking for interns, a social media coordinator, on-air talent, storytellers.
Definitely need a social media coordinator. That's
talk show hosts,
priority.
Gossip reporters, music reviewers, local correspondents, production assistants, movie reviewers, DJs, and more. So call this number, 1-203-286-3633. You can email WSME Radio at SMEnlightenment Media. That is SMEnlightenmentmedia.com. And they have Facebook and Instagram and Twitter pages at SM Enlightenment for the soul, mind, and ears. Steve Richardson, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you so much,
Appreciate your
Shelley.
time.
Thank you for all your support over all these decades, and thank you for all these great experiences, because it would not have been the same ride without you.
And I appreciate that. That
I appreciate you. We all appreciate you.
That fills me. This has been the show. Oh, one other thing. Wait a minute. This has been the show on 103.5 FMLP, New Haven Independent.org, WNHH. And don't forget the 11th Annual Lobster and Crab Fest, Sunday, August 18th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Lighthouse Point Carousel. It's BYOB, dessert tasting, raffles, line dancing, free parking. It is hosted by Juan Castillo. $75 for lobster and crab, $45 for the picnic buffet. All right? If you need more information, you can get tickets online by going to www.naacdst.org/events. www.naacdst.org/events. Thank you, Harry. Join me next week, because you never know who's going to be on the show. Good night.
I didn't know if we were free and clear yet. Good job, Steph. That's why you're doing it.